Yes, people, it's me. It's Trini Werewolf, the one and only. And I'm very tired. This is my seventh time trying to record this because the last six times I just was not happy with it. Or rather, the last five times I wasn't happy with it. The sixth time it kept telling me my camera was not connected, even though I don't use it, and my mic wasn't connected. So, hey, I restarted my laptop enough times for it to work. So, hey, that's the only reason you're getting this. The other reason is I cannot keep putting off a video discussing IPL when IPL starts on Saturday. I'm not going to tell you when I'm recording this because it is very late or very early, depending on how you want to look at it. All I'll say is, looking at the hour, I should be eating a Krabby Patty right now. Oh boy! If you know, you know. But yeah, I couldn't put it off any longer. I want to use this video to discuss the West Indians in this season of IPL. But I want to split it up where, in this part, I'll be looking mainly at the players who were retained because I feel like that has bigger implications, while those who were drafted can at least open some more discussion. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. Starting with the Kolkata Knight Riders, defending champions. And it was no surprise that they ended up retaining Narayan and Russell, two goats to the format. Now, contrary to belief, one of these may have not been retained at some point. Now, you could take this with a grain of salt, but there were quite a few rumors up until the announcement of retentions that Russell was not there. Supposedly, they could not reach a deal with him, and sorry, only a few hours before the deadline, it was heard that he was retained. So, like, they reached a deal. Now, they had quite a few other rumors that were far stronger and came nowhere close to being true. So again, this could end up having not true at all. But given it was Russell and there are injury concerns, it could have been believable to some extent. But yeah, like I said, two goats is no surprise both of them were retained. Now the issue is both are 56. So at the end of this cycle, there will be 39, almost 40. So it is very likely that I'm 99% sure this will be their last cycle of the IPL. I won't go as far to say that this may be their last season, just because given how well they performed up until this point, you could tell Narayan still has a lot to give, Russell still has a lot to give, both in massive all-round context. Because Russell, despite having not bowled as much in other leagues, it seems like in IPL last year and into this year, he's bowling a lot more, and that seems to have really raised his confidence because now he's performing all around across multiple leagues. Yeah, he's still definitely. I definitely expect a lot more of that from him, especially because I didn't expect him to take so much wickets last year. I mean, 19 when I think the most was 26. That's still pretty good from an all-rounder who bats 7, but he was bowling almost 4 overs every single game. So yeah, great to see. I mean, Narayan's 4 overs are guaranteed. He might not get as much wickets, but you're guaranteed for an economy below 6. If you're below 5, if you're really lucky. Yeah. It also helped Narayan that they were playing on all the tracks last year with such highways that he was able to just cash in and produce a mountain of runs, which is something we haven't really seen from him before. Or rather, something we haven't seen in quite a while. To put it into context, one innings for the IPL last year, Narayan made 108 runs. And if you add up all of his innings for GT20 in Canada, MLC in the United States, and CPL here in the Caribbean, that's almost 30 innings. He made 118 runs. So yeah, Narayan Debata was MIA in all but one league for the year. So yeah, if conditions are the same, then you can just expect equal batting to his bowling. Same with Russell. But yeah, I feel like this will be a crucial season because say things they don't perform as stellar as they do, or as you would expect, given where they are in their career, there will be a much stronger consideration that okay, maybe these two players won't be able to take us through the cycle, and we would have to consider if this may be their last season or if next season would definitely be their last. But again, given how well they performed, you would feel that they will be able to perform as well this season, especially given a defending champion. So that will probably be some good motivation, I would say. Okay, now on to the next team. Only one retention, that's West India, but it's another pretty big one. The boy himself, Nicholas Puran, third highest retention because he's tied with Virat for 21, I believe, and then only Klaasen is above at 23. But yeah, just massive impact last year. Puran's a bit of a tricky one because yes, while he has had successful seasons in the past for other teams, most were around 200, 300, like mid 300 run seasons. And yes, while they were good, none of them would say, "Oh, this is someone who we should definitely retain. This is someone we should hold on to." And it's only LSG who took that massive gamble after he came off of a horrendous, disastrous, stink, some would say, World Cup qualifier. And yeah, it seems like it paid off quite well. Yeah, incredible season last year. You would hope that he would be able to live up to that, even though the bar set so high. So even if he comes close, like he had crossed 500, I'll take 400, 450. If he somehow manages to pass 500, then it's just incredible. Again, far more friendly conditions for batting, but you still have to capitalize on it. So yeah, I expect another pretty good season from him. There was the concern that because of his high retention cost, that they were looking to make him captain. And frankly, that did not happen because LSG picked up Panther way more money. It does raise a concern of having to retain such expensive players for next cycle and even the mini auctions, but that's a bridge LSG will cross when they get to it. But yeah, I'm not saying that Puran would have been a bad captain because he does have some championships under his belt. But I just think that given the quality of a tournament like IPL, and given that in other leagues where his captaincy hadn't really excelled, a lot of it came down to just the tactical aspect of his game just not being there. But a lot of times there were questionable field placements, choice of bowlers. Like some would just drastically shift from game to game where someone would come in a power play, bowl 3 overs, one in the middle, and then in the next game that same person might not bowl at all or bowl 19th over and that's it. So yeah, a few questionable things, but yeah, he doesn't have to deal with any of that, so he's just free to come in at 5 or 6 and just lash ball. I do hope he had the opportunity to come in a bit earlier, and maybe a 3 or 4, hopefully, given the firepower that LSG has now. But you can only hope, because again, if someone's capable, like Purana, capable of giving you like a 30 from 15, they're probably as capable to give you like a 50 from 25 or 30 if they bat at 3 or 4. So yeah, that is something we could hope for. But again, he's the person I expect to give us probably the best season in terms of batting. And then Narayan and Russell will be just probably a tie for all-round impact. Now, this is the last West Indian retention as a player. And on that point, there's only 4. And it doesn't speak well that 2 of them are practically retired from international cricket and only play franchise cricket. Yeah, we do. I'm not saying that the West quality of West Indians have dropped off, but it doesn't speak well that yes, while we have players who perform well enough to get picked up by teams, it's only 2 who have really shown anything worth being retained because you'd expect it from Ryan and Russell just because of the brand loyalty. They've been there for the start of IPL for Knight Riders. More so than Ryan, I think Russell would have come in a few years after. But yeah. You would hope that going from here, well, most of them you would assume would be retained for the cycle, but going into a new cycle, I would hope to see a little bit more. Yeah, because it also doesn't have that. Well, yes, like I said, Narayan and Russell are practically retired, but the players that we have currently, Puran isn't always available for West Indies, and Mr. Hetmeyer here, while available, doesn't always make it into the 11. So yeah, quite a few issues. But back to Hetmeyer. For Rajasthan, this retention really surprised me because Hetmeyer did not have as good of a season last year as he did in his previous ones. Now, while it does speak good of Rajasthan for showing faith in him and retaining him for another cycle, it does come with the expectation of having to deliver, especially when you have such high quality retentions all around him. Yeah, he does stand out a bit because all of these will have delivered great seasons, a few dips here and there. Sorry. And they would have had a few dips here and there. But given the position Hetmeyer was batting in, given that they see him as a finisher, similar to Puran, even though he is more than capable of batting higher up and building an innings and then finishing off at the end, there were quite a few instances where when he came in, yes, some scenarios weren't possible, but there were a few times where it seemed like it could have been and he wasn't able to do so. Same for Powell, but Powell's a slightly different case because they just treated him as like a last resort where he would come in after Hetmeyer, sometimes even after Ashwin, which seems like disrespect to Powell, but yeah. I didn't think he would have been retained either. And Hetmeyer, thinking about it, I could have seen it, but I feel like going into that cycle, given the players that they had, you would have assumed they would have gone for probably a different overseas, probably Bolt. But yeah, it's good for Hetmeyer at the end of the day. Because again, we all want to see the West Indians perform well. I just Hetmeyer had now had the expectation of having to overperform, or not overperform, but having to make up for not having performed as well last time. So be interesting to see how he's able to handle a season where the expectation to be more consistent is there. So yeah, that's just for the West Indian players. But we do have some West Indians who snuck into the dugout as support staff. And oh my goodness, I forgot I had this here. I'm so sorry, folks. Okay, what happened was I had seen this image on my phone. I was looking up images of Pollard when he was batting for Mumbai, and this image came up. And when I had seen it on my phone, it was zoomed in slightly, and it also jump scared me when I first saw it. And I figured, you know what, I might as well. Luckily, I'm not gonna have the big man give you the 1,000-yard stare for the whole rest of the video. So we'll switch to this one. Yes, he's not batting, but I feel like this is a better pose, we shall say. So yeah, Pollard jump ship from batter to batting coach after that last season he had for Mumbai was not good at all. I mean, it scares me thinking about it. But yeah, as batting coach, yes, he's also a goat not just for the West Indian cricketer but also for Mumbai. But as a batting coach, it's interesting because as someone who relies a lot on power, it's something that you can't really teach. So I'm curious as to how he goes about it. Because you'd assume it would just be working on hitting boundaries. You assume that. I guess it's also in terms of how to approach it. And like what type of shots to go for to compensate for someone not being as powerful as him. Because they do have quite a few young talent. Overseas talent in this case compared to previous seasons. So in that instance, there'll be a lot of people who would be comfortable performing in their own conditions about having to perform here on a big stage in foreign conditions. It'll be interesting to see how he does in that role. My only hope is that they do not give him as much interviews because the ones he gave last year, they were also as bad. Yeah, I'm going to stop giving myself PTSD. Yeah, let's move on to the last one. Champion. Sir Champion is back with Knight Riders as a mentor. Yeah, I would have expected him to probably... Well, he moved on from CSK bowling coach last year. So he's gone to Knight Riders, most likely just because he was been with TKR. But as a mentor, which I feel like is a position that suits him pretty well, given his personality and just his status as another good all-rounder. Now, I am curious as to if he'll be mentor for all of the Knight Riders teams. It was worded like that. Like, because in the post they mentioned he'll just be the Knight Riders mentor, not specifically Kolkata Knight Riders. Like, you assume it'll be the same for Trinbago Knight Riders, LA Knight Riders, Abu Dhabi Knight Riders. But in Abu Dhabi Knight Riders, he was the head coach. And that did not work out well at all. tactically they were way off, having to retire out people just to bring in Russell, but it only about 2 overs where you just go 50 from 12, and yeah, that was a miss. But as a mentor, I feel like he could really help a lot of players. But it's fared up pretty well. Sorry, where Pollard could help people a lot in the technical aspect of their game, and Bravo be kind of a contrast and help players develop like physically and emotionally, mentally. So yeah, given that they both have the handle from having to work with a lot of young talent, I feel like it's something that Bravo might be better suited to excel in. So it'll be interesting to see how he does that for these players, and also how he's able to tackle it for all of the Knight Riders franchises going forward. So yeah, it's very interesting. Um, I I don't know how best to judge it in terms of assessing how he would do as a mentor. Part of that batting coach, it'll be easier to do because you can say, oh, all players really stepped up their game in terms of batting. That you can say, oh, that's directly from Pollard. But I guess from hearing how players speak about the setup and how they've improved in certain aspects, that some of those might be easier to contribute to Bravo. So yeah, that's really it. Yeah, this was. I'm finally happy with this take. I had so much trouble getting my thoughts out before, so and everything worked out this time. It really is the WereWolf Hour. It all came together. But yeah, that's really it. Yeah, it is a bit disappointing that there weren't a lot of West Indians retained, but there were quite a few drafted, and I'm really excited to talk about that because I feel like given some of the players and the position that they normally play for West Indies, and the teams that they're in, you could kind of infer what positions they're likely to inherit from other players, and the players that they would be inheriting it from. A few of them, it speaks very highly of the West Indian players if they're seen as taking over that position. So yeah, that should be very fun to talk about. But that's it for me today. So I thank you all for your time. You'll see a video hopefully within 24 hours going over the retained players. So just make sure to like, comment, subscribe. I'll keep these videos coming, and you can expect live streams mostly on Sunday, but I could always push it to a Saturday if need be. So thank you all. Good night, or rather, good morning. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired.